and we're gonna go live now.
All right. Are we good to start?
Let's give it a couple, let's get like a minute.
Okay.
Then we will get started. So anyone joining, thanks so much. We're gonna give it a minute or two before we get started to allow some other participants to join the session, but thanks for joining us. Thanks everyone for joining. We're gonna get started here in just 1 minute. So bear with us and then we'll get going. All right, Ericka, we could probably get started.
Okay. All right. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome. We're so excited to welcome you to the final session of the HARN Final Four Summer Search Series. If you've been to the other sessions, welcome back, and we hope that you've learned a lot so far. If you're just joining us, we're so happy to have you. Just a couple of housekeeping items to go over. Just know that the chat is disabled. So you will be able to use the Q&A feature if you have any questions, so no worries about that. And this session will be recorded. So my name is Erica. I am an admissions counselor for the Huntsville area and for the Northeast Houston area for Sam Houston. And I graduated from Sam in 2019. I love Sam Houston, and I'm gonna go ahead and let Molly my colleague introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Molly Dimchek. I am a Houston Regional Admissions Counselor with Texas Tech University. So fun fact, it's fun that I'm getting to present today with Ericka from Sam Houston. That's actually where I graduated from. So although we're not going to be talking specifically about our universities, just know, we will have our contacts at the end, and you're always welcome to contact us individually about our universities. So let's get started. So this session is about polishing your application. I'm sure you are all aware that Apply Texas has opened up today for many universities that you may be wanting to apply to. So this session is really going to be about just going over some of the materials that might be on your application, maybe some of the documents that you are sending in, and really just making sure that they are ready to go. They're making you the best candidate possible and making you look like a great candidate for a university. Me and Ericka really want to try and make it interactive. I know y'all are in Zoom sessions all the time. So we're going to have some poll questions throughout our session. We have a video as well. I'm actually going to release one of the poll questions right now, just so that y'all can kind of get a little test of it. So please go ahead and interact with it. You'll be able to kind of answer some of those questions throughout. So we're going to go ahead and launch the poll. And then we'll give y'all a couple seconds to kind of submit your answers. So the questions is asking, what are you looking forward to learning about the most? So good job. I see some of y'all getting those polls in. So we're going to have lots of stuff for you to learn today. Awesome. Cool. So it looks like we got a lot of students that are wanting to learn about writing their essays and tips for filling out the application. So we're going to go ahead and end that poll. But yeah, great answers, and you're going to be able to learn about all of those things. So with that being said, our agenda today is going to be it's going to be how to write your perfect essay. Then we're going to be going over tips and tricks for filling out the application, answering scholarship questions. How does going test optional make your application look? So we know that a lot of schools are also still going test optional. So, kind of what that looks like on an application and how to maybe fill out some of your documents differently if you're deciding to go test optional. And then we're going to talk about showing interest in your college and that how after you hit submit, there's still some polishing that you can do. So like I said, lots of topics to cover, and we're super excited to kind of get going. So we will go to the next slide, which is going to be talking about your essay. So your essay is a pretty vital part of your application. So it is something that is going to reveal something outside of your grades and your test scores. So a lot of times it's going to be about you, your personality, and it's giving us as admissions counselors a sense of who you are and your ability to write. So I'm going to kind of go over some tips for you as you're writing that essay so that you can make it the best as possible. All right, so number one, when you're writing your essay, you want to write about something that's important to you. Don't write about something that you think we want to hear, right? Don't write about something that you aren't passionate about. Don't write about something that doesn't matter to you, because an admissions counselor is going to be able to sense that in your writing, right? If you're not passionate about it, if it doesn't mean a lot to you, if you're just writing it because you think that's what we want to hear, we're going to be able to kind of tell. So making sure that you pick a topic that you're passionate about, because when you're writing about something you're passionate about, it's just going to be a lot more easy to flow. Your writing is going to be better, and you're going to have a lot more to say. The next one is going to be, did you just recount or did you reflect on what you're writing about, right? So we don't want to know that something happened to you, right? We want to know, how did this event change you, or did you learn something from it, right? So say you moved your sophomore year of high school, and you write an essay that is just recounting that, right? You're just telling us, I moved my sophomore year of high school because my dad got a new job and we had to relocate. Those things are important. Those details are important in your essay, but we want to know how those things changed you. How did moving to a new school maybe affect your grades, right? If you're looking at your transcript and you see, and we're as admissions counselors, and we see that, you don't have, or you have poor grades in one semester, yeah, you're going to want to address, hey, I moved that semester, or there was a life event that happened, but we also want to know, how did it change you? So how did it impact you moving forward as a student and your rest of your high school career? Also, did you learn anything from it? So, what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about maybe the things you want to do as a person? So just don't recount those things. You're going to want to make sure that you are reflecting on them. So the next one is you want to make sure that you are direct and make sure you answer the prompt that you pick, right? So what I mean by this is, this essay is a place for admissions counselors to get to know you. We want to know you as a student, right? So it is really great when I read an essay that talks about your mom, and she's a single mom and she works 3 jobs and she is an angel. I can't wait to meet your mom. She sounds like a wonderful person, right? But if your whole essay is just simply about that, and at the end you say, this is why I want to be the person I am today, or this is who I am today, I don't know anything about you, right? I know a whole lot about your mom, which is still great, like I said, but just make sure that when you read back your essay, It is about you, because at the end of the day, we want to get to know you. The next one is going to be stick to your style. So don't ever overuse the thesaurus, and always write like you speak, right? So don't feel like you have to change it up, or all of a sudden you have to, be this person that uses all these big words or elaborate explanations. If that's not you, if that's not the person you are, then that's okay. Write like you. Because again, big theme of this whole slide is that we want to get to know you. So don't ever change up your style. Stick to the style that you are comfortable writing in. All right, next is to be authentic. So this is gonna be, again, to showcase you, and just being authentic this is kind of where I wanna talk about that. Writing an essay on your college application is it can be a very safe place for you. So in two ways, we know that one, some students go through some big things in their life, right? We want you to feel comfortable to talk to it, to talk to us about it. Sorry, y'all, my computer is making a weird noise. Sorry, okay, I was making sure I was still here. So we want you to feel very comfortable in this space of your essay to talk about anything that you've been through. Us as admissions counselors, we are here to listen, and it's a safe space for you. Also, though, with that in mind, is that you don't have to go through a struggle to write a good college essay, right? So I feel like sometimes we'll read some college essays that students, maybe you went through something really big in first grade. Now, it may have really impacted you, but don't feel like just because that's the only struggle you've been through, that's all you can write about in your college essay. There are so many other things that you can write about that are maybe more relevant to your life in this moment, right? Maybe you're the president of a student organization. Maybe you volunteer somewhere. Those things have an impact on who you are as a person as well. So I feel like a lot of times students think that, oh, I need to find something really big or really major that happens in my life to be able to talk about myself. But you don't have to feel that way. So just know that there are plenty of areas that you can showcase yourself. Lastly is going to be to proofread. So make sure you're using correct grammar. This is just going to be if you were to submit an essay for a grade in your English class, you're probably going to proofread it, or you're going to get points off because you have a grammatical error, or you didn't capitalize the first letter of every sentence. So really make sure that you are proofreading your essays. We're going to read them, and it just has an impact on who you are as a person, right? So this is the only way we get to know you. And as an admissions counselor, if you're kind of seeing very easy or very, a lot of grammatical errors, you're wondering if this person took their time. We're wondering how much planning did you put into this, right? So just kind of make sure you're proofreading. And then this might just be a big pet peeve of mine. I'm sure other admissions counselors have seen it. Make sure you change the university name in your essay. So you can very much use the same essay for every college that you apply to, right? That is okay. You can do that, but make sure that you change that university name, right? I have read some really awesome essays and I'm like, wow, this student sounds great. This student is going to be a perfect fit for Texas Tech University. And I get down to the bottom of the essay and it says, this is why I can't wait to go to Sam Houston State University. And I'm like, dang it, right? It's not a huge deal, but it is one of those things that, again, you're trying to polish yourself. You're trying to make sure that you look the best that you can on your application. So just one of those little things that students maybe, are going too fast, going too quick, and they're missing that a little bit. So I am actually going to send out another poll real quick. I'm just going to try and gauge where all of y'all are at. So let me go ahead and release our next poll question. And the question is, have you started your essay yet? So have you started your college essay? So let's see how many of y'all have gotten started. And if you haven't gotten started, it's okay. But if you have, then that's awesome too. Awesome. And I think I forgot to share the results last time. So I'm going to go ahead and share them. It looks like about 20% of y'all have started your college essay. About 80% of you have not. Like I said, that is okay. But fun thing for you being in this session is these are the essay prompts. These are going to be the ones from Apply Texas. So if you're planning to use Apply Texas, you can kind of jot down these essay prompts real quick or pull your phone out, take a picture of them, and you can kind of get started. Again, another suggestion that I have if you haven't gotten started is take your time. So don't feel like you have to rush through a college essay. Now you have the questions, you have some of those tips when you're thinking about what you want to write about. So just make sure you're kind of taking your time and plan out what you want to write about. Don't sit down at your application and try and just write out your essay in the box on the screen. Write it out in Word, proofread it, make sure, set it aside for the night and come back the next day and look at it again. So definitely just take your time. But I am going to now pass it over to Ericka, and she is going to have some good things to talk about for filling out the application. Remember, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We have some lovely colleagues with us who are happy to answer any questions in the Q&A, and we will have time at the end as well.
Okay, so I am going to talk about some tips and tricks to filling out your application. These are just going to be some things that you can keep in mind as you're filling it out. You're gonna be like, oh man, I remember Ericka said this, I should really add this. And so let's get started with that. Okay, so obviously there's going to be that one section in the application where you're going to have all of your organizations, programs, volunteer opportunities that you had. And so you want to make sure that these are very polished and that you're using full sentences, you're being descriptive, not just saying, I helped at a food kitchen, but what exactly did you do? What was your role? Did you have a leadership role? Maybe you were the president of your class. What did that entail? All of the things and how did you grow in that role? Just using full sentences, being descriptive of what you did. And then when you're filling out personal biographical information, you really want to double check that. That's super, super important. This information is very crucial when it comes to your application. And so you want to make sure your social security number is correct, your email is correct, your phone number, because these are going to be the ways that we contact you. And so you want to make sure that all of that is correct. You also want to make sure that you're putting your information, not your parents, because as an admissions counselor, I can't tell you how many times I've had to relay a message and then I had to tell a parent first. And sometimes maybe that doesn't get relayed the right way, and it's nobody's fault. It's just we are playing phone tag, and it's just it can get lost in all of that. And so you want to make sure that you put your information so that we can contact you directly in a timely manner. That's super, super important. You also want to list an email address that you check regularly. I would actually consider making one that's just for your college applications. It'll be like a separate professional looking one that will be just for that you're going to regularly check. And that way you can have all of your college application information in one email address, and it doesn't get lost in the rest of your emails. I don't know about you guys, but when my email gets full very quickly, and usually it's just full of promotional things that I put my email in for, like at H&M or whatever. So you don't want that to get lost in all of those. And you want to remember, oh, you want to also not list your high school ISD email. And the reason for that is because that high school ISD email might not be there forever. And sometimes after you graduate, it gets erased from the system. So you just want to make sure you have a good, a reliable email. You also want to make sure that you fill out all of these common questions that you'll see, and just be prepared to answer them and make sure that all of these are correct. So your parent guardian info, emergency contact, household size, and everything that you see in an asterisk will be required. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Molly again.
Hello. Okay, I am now going to be going over polishing your application and how some good tips on answering scholarship questions. So some of it, again, may be kind of the same information that you just heard about writing your essay, but scholarship questions can be just as important as your essay questions as well. So some of the common scholarship questions that you might see on an application is, you know, everyone loves this one, that tell me more about yourself. And then there is, why do you deserve this scholarship? What are your career goals? What are your strengths and weaknesses? And why did you choose this university? So those are just kind of some of the, there might be some other questions that you see, but these are going to kind of be, you know, some of the common questions that you should be prepared for. One of the things to kind of keep in mind is that some universities will have their scholarship questions on their application. For example, Texas Tech's scholarship questions are on your application. So as you're filling out the application, you're going to get to a section that says that these are scholarship questions. It's the only scholarship form that we have. And once you hit submit, you can't go back and change them, right? Other universities will have a separate scholarship application outside of the application. So just make sure that you know where those scholarship questions are going to be at, so that you can be prepared for them. So now I'm just going to go over some tips on how to polish those scholarship answers. All right, the first one is going to be, don't answer too broadly. So I think it's just an instinct for students that they see a scholarship question pop up and their first instinct is to just type out a quick answer and then move to the next one, right? But you don't want to do that. So you might want to answer too broadly, but you're going to want to plan out what you want to say as if it was an essay prompt. So if you know what the scholarship questions are, again, move over to a Word document. Type out your answers in that Word document so that you can make sure it's exactly what you want to say, and that you're not just kind of typing out an answer that's real quick on the top of your head to kind of just get through that part. Because like I said, sometimes this might be the only scholarship application that you have, and finding funding for school is kind of a big deal. So you do want to take this part of your application very seriously as well. Show you are a self-aware person. So for the scholarship questions, you really want to focus in on yourself, your actions, thoughts, and emotions, right? So when it's saying, tell me a little bit more about yourself, really think about what you want to say, right? Don't just say, oh, well, the application says, I'm from Houston, but I'm actually from Pearland, right? That's not being a very self-aware person. So you kind of want to answer those questions, with your own actions and thoughts and emotions. So, Ericka, if you could go back. No worries. So the next one is just being open and honest. So again, kind of the same as we talked about with your essay. This is a safe place for you to answer the questions, right? So one of those common questions you're going to see is, why do you deserve this scholarship, or why do you need this scholarship? It's okay to be honest on saying, you know, maybe you have a parent that lost a job, or maybe you're in a single parent household, or maybe you're having to work to help pay for bills at home, right? It is okay to be honest and open, because that could impact you getting picked for a scholarship or not, right? So kind of just keep that part in mind. Again, it's a safe place for you to kind of talk about things that are going on in your life, because again, we don't know you, and this is the only opportunity that we have to get to know you, is through words on an application or scholarship application. The next one is show you have a plan and show you have passion. So you chose to apply to a specific university, and you just want to show that you have passion for that university in your answer, right? So I'm going to kind of talk about showing interest in a university here in a couple slides, but just kind of make sure you're showing that you have a plan, whether that's here's the major you want to do, or show you have passion. Here's why I want to come to this university. My entire family came here, and I'm going to be a fifth generation Texas Tech student, or you know, whatever the case may be, but you're choosing to apply to a university for a reason. So kind of let those reasons shine through in your answers. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but taking the question seriously. So again, it is very easy to get kind of wrapped up in filling out a lot of scholarship applications, or even a lot of just college applications in general, where you see a question pop up, you just type it in real quick. But like I've already mentioned, sometimes this is your only opportunity to fill out a scholarship answer. You can't go back, you can't change it, you can't edit them, and this will be what is used for all of the scholarships at a university. Then lastly, again, proofreading. So, you know, check for grammatical errors, check before you hit submit that, you know, everything is the way you want it to look. Next, I'm gonna kind of do a little activity. So we're gonna do it in the polls, but so this is gonna be a sample question and answer. So the question is, tell us about yourself. So this is gonna be as if this was a scholarship question. It says, tell us about yourself. And the student wrote, I'm someone who is really passionate about the ocean. That's why I plan on majoring in marine biology and becoming an NaOO scientist one day. I've already earned my scuba certificate and have gone on a number of dives. When I'm not in the water, I really enjoy reading poetry and volunteering at our local library's summer literacy program for kids. So now I'm going to put up a poll question. The poll question is going to ask, why does this answer work or not work? So there's going to be a couple answers that you can select from. You should be able to select more than one if you want. So it's going to either be why does it work or not work. So go ahead, the question will remain on the screen as well. Let me go ahead and get the polls. Okay, so there's the poll. So why does this answer work or not work? So does it work because it shows us long-term and short-term goals? It doesn't tell us what the person is interested in. It's too short. It shows us their accomplishments. Why do y'all think it either works or does not work? I'll give y'all a little. I will give y'all a little bit longer. I know it's a little bit of a longer question. All right, it looks like the polls have kind of ended. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. I'm going to share the results. And yes, so it does show long-term and short-term goals. And it does show us accomplishments. So the answer does cover a lot of things in a short amount of space. So I do see that a couple of you selected that it is too short, and I can understand why you might think that. So scholarship questions can be a little shorter. So that's different than answering it quickly though, right? So just because an answer is a little bit shorter doesn't mean that this student wrote it in 3 minutes, right? This is a very thought out answer to this question. So it does show that they have that long-term goal of becoming a scientist and majoring in marine biology. And then it shows us those short-term goals of it does show us those goals, the short-term and long-term, by being a scientist and wanting to major in marine biology. Then it does also show us those accomplishments, that the students earned a scuba certificate, and that they have values by doing volunteer time, right? So this, although it is a little bit shorter, which is okay for scholarship questions, it covered a lot of information. So it's a very thought out answer because of everything it provided in there. Ericka, if you could go back just one slide real quick. I'm gonna kind of explain one other part real quick. So we had a question come through about talking about being a self-aware person. It's kind of the same as when we talked about writing your essay, right? You want to be able to reflect on certain things. So you want to be able to talk about your own actions and your own thoughts and emotions, right? So like that question we just read, that student was talking about their own actions of volunteering, their actions of getting a scuba certificate. A scuba certificate might not be something that you think to include because you might say, oh, well, why would I put that in there? But being a self-aware person is kind of knowing what you've accomplished, or knowing, how those things have impacted you. So again, I think trying to explain more about being self-aware, it really is kind of going back to, you're not just recounting information, but you're going to reflect upon it. So hopefully that clears it up. If not, can kind of talk about it a little bit more at the end. All right, Ericka, we could go to the next one. Ericka, if you will just hit space once for this one. So this is our next activity. We're going to just have one more, and it says, why do you deserve this scholarship? So we're going to kind of do the same thing. I will share a poll. So this was the student's answer was, college is expensive. My parents do not have the funds to pay for school. That is why I need a scholarship. So let me go and share the poll. All right, so why does this answer work or not work? Good job, y'all. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end this poll. I'm gonna share the results. So yes, this one does not outline a goal. So and it does not show someone being self-aware. Although it does outline why that a student can't afford college, we're really gonna want to know why, right? So like I've kind of said earlier, that it's a safe space for you to kind of talk about maybe why you need funding, maybe why you're a student who needs a little bit of extra help. And yes, it does show that the student needs a scholarship. They were very upfront about that, but it really doesn't give us much detail as to knowing them, right? So Ericka, if you could go ahead and click the next one, I'm gonna share, this is another answer that maybe would work better, right? So ever since my cousin was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, I've wanted to become a pediatrician. Medical school is expensive, and this scholarship will help me accomplish my goal of becoming a doctor and helping sick kids like Nace. So this one, you can kind of see that it outlines their goal. So that's going to be a big one, is just making sure that you're outlining your goal. The student outlines their goal of becoming a pediatrician. They also stated how that scholarship will help with their goal. So, and like I said before, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. the student just says, medical school is expensive. They're not going to be able to afford it. And so they're going to need a little bit of extra help. And then they also added that personal touch of talking about their cousin. So there was that self-awareness element was, kind of I have this cousin who has cystic fibrosis. Here's how it's impacted me. Here's how this has changed either my life or has changed what I want to do with my career. And you were able to articulate that into an answer. So it wasn't just, well, I want to become a pediatrician and help sick kids. You allowed us to make a connection, and that was now making us know that this is a very thought out answer, because you thought about your cousin, so that you thought about, why do I want to become a pediatrician? Well, here's the things that I've seen in my life that have impacted me, so now I want to be able to help other people. So that is kind of the activity. Hope that y'all had fun kind of going through some of those questions. Hope it kind of helped y'all figure out what are kind of some good ways to write scholarship questions. This is kind of the same when moving forward with your essay as well. So just really taking some time to think about, how does each element kind of impact each other? So you want to become a pediatrician, you want to help sick kids, and there's a timeline as to why you want to do all of that. I am going to now pass it over to Ericka. I think I've already seen some questions about test optional. So this next part of the presentation is going to be super beneficial for anyone who has questions about test optional.
Okay, so we'll talk about test optional. So I did see that somebody asked the question, what is test optional? So I want to answer that just in case anybody else had that same question. And so test optional basically just means that you have the option to opt out of sending ACT and SAT scores. This started when COVID started. Obviously, we were not able to go in and take tests with other people because life was crazy. So a lot of institutions, including Sam Houston State, are deciding to go test optional again this year. Again, you have that option. You do not have to send your ACT, SAT scores. However, not sending your scores might not always be the best option. And we'll talk about that as I kind of expand on this. There's two ways to go about sending scores. You can either send scores right away as you're signing up for the test. That'll look like maybe you're signing up through College Board and it'll ask you to select schools. So a lot of the times when you do that, that will automatically send the score after you receive them, after you receive your scores. However, you also have the option to not select any schools yet. So you can sign up for the test, not select any schools, but it doesn't automatically go towards them, and you can always send them later. Why is that important? Because a lot of institutions, including Sam Houston State University, if we receive scores, we do need to consider them. Even if your intent was to go test optional, a lot of the times when an institution receives scores, they will consider them. So that's why it's important to know before you take the test and when you sign up for it, to maybe possibly not select any schools yet. With that being said, it's important to know the requirements for each school that you're applying for, because you might find that sending scores could help you rather than hurt you. And I'm going to give you an example of this on our next slide. But before I do that, I do want to mention that test optional does not mean that you do not turn in important documents like transcripts, letter of recommendations, and college essays, things like that, supplemental documents that you will need. So I really do want to expand on the whole test optional and how many schools are going to have different requirements. It's not the same across the board. So for example, these are the Sam Houston State University automatic admission requirements with test scores. So if you have a 3.0 GPA, you will need a 19 on your ACT and a 1010 on your SAT. Let's say that you have a 3.0 Oh, also for our test optional, we only consider our GPA. So if you're not sending in scores, the automatic admission requirement for us is a 3.0 GPA or above. So with that being said, let's say you do have a 3.0 GPA and you took your test, but you haven't sent any scores yet, right? And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can get in with a 3.0 GPA if I do not send in scores. That might help you if you got a 15 on your ACT and a 900 on your SAT. It might help you to not send in those scores. However, let's say you got a 2.5 GPA. Obviously, if you turn in just your GPA, you might end up either not being accepted or going under holistic or individual review. And so if you want to avoid that, and your test scores are high enough, you might want to send those in. So if you have a 22 on your ACT or an 1110 on your SAT, then it might benefit you to send that in. And again, we will be able at the end to answer any more questions about this. So I hope that makes sense to you and that you kind of were able to have a better idea of what test optional means. Let's talk about your supplemental materials. So like I said, test optional does not mean that you don't turn all of these in. These are very important documents to turn in. So for example, your transcripts, you want to make sure that your high school includes your GPA and your class rank in your transcript. It's super important when you are adding a transcript to a file for a university. A lot of the times, if those things are not included, we do ask you to send another one, and that just takes more time. And so you want to avoid that. So you want to make sure before your school sends it electronically, or you send it through the mail, that it has those things included in it. Your resume, you want to make it look professional. So your jobs, organizations, and programs, you want to list those in reverse chronological order. So from your last job, program, or organization until going from present all the way to the past. So you want to do a reverse chronological order. Your name, address, email, and contact information should be at the top. That would be an easy access for us to know who you are and how to contact you. And it doesn't hurt to let a teacher or a counselor critique your resume before turning it in. That would be incredible, so that they can help you with that process. I do want to talk about letters of recommendation, but I want to be able to show you a video. It's going to be a short video on what not to do. So give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and click that. I got it. Commercials, guys.
Hey, listen, I just applied to do some substitute teaching over at the middle school, and I put your name down as a personal reference, so you're probably going to be getting a call from them today.
Okay, what you want me to say?
This is just to let them know that I'm normal, that I'm not some criminal or psychopath, so just be honest.
Okay, not a problem. Well, hello, Spider-Man. I didn't know you had a horse.
The school calling?
Hello, Mr. McLaughlin speaking.
Why are you using that voice?
I'm trying to sound professional.
Just sound like yourself. Be yourself.
Yeah, this is Rhett. Since we were kids, I mean, I've known Link pretty much my entire life. Well, he's pretty stable. I mean, when he's rested and medicated. But nothing too extreme. I mean, he's never physically lashed out at me, but he does sometimes get this look in his eyes that makes me wonder what he's capable of.
What are you doing? You said to be honest.
No, he's never been convicted of a felony.
Hang on, idiot.
No, it wasn't a big deal. I mean, we just got some dynamite from his cousin Dale and blew up what we thought was an abandoned house. No, it wasn't abandoned. Well, nobody was killed. I mean, I think a kid lost a foot and a parakeet died.
Give me the phone.
No, it's not on his record. Well, his dad's really wealthy and he paid off the DA.
I can't believe this.
Okay, that's it? Really? All right. Okay, anytime. Thanks. What's wrong?
You are going to call them back right now and set the record straight. The medication I take is just a sleep aid, and that house that blew up, that happened when we were kids. And it was all your idea.
Okay. Yeah, this is Red. I was just talking to you about my friend Link. Yeah, I just wanted to call back and clarify a few things. The medication that he's on is a sleep aid, and he takes it very occasionally. And that house blowing up, that happened when we were kids, and it was all my fault. I mean, he was pretty much just an innocent bystander. Yeah, that's right. Okay, great. Great. Yeah, I really thought I'd screwed things up there for him for a second. Yeah, he really needs this job. You know, he hasn't had steady work since his uncle was paying him to scratch the VIN numbers off of stolen cars.
Okay, so obviously, ooh, how can I exit out this? Sometimes I feel like an old lady, guys. Okay, all right, so obviously that is more of a job perspective, but it definitely applies to letters of recommendation. So you want to be able to pick wisely on who you choose to write your letters of recommendation. So instead of choosing your best friend, maybe it'll be better to choose somebody who has seen you grow in your character, your work ethic, or your influence. And you want to know that they'll be able to say something about you that's not included in your application or your essay. We want to know more about who you are. So this will be something unique and that will supplement your essay. So this could be a teacher, a former boss, a principal, or a coach. And that way you can avoid something that might not look as professional or won't help you much with your application. So I hope you enjoyed that. I thought that was hilarious. So I will be handing it over to Molly now.
All right, y'all. We are almost through, so thanks for staying with us. Hopefully you're learning a lot, but kind of the last couple things we want to touch on is one, I'm going to be talking about showing interest. So Ericka, you could go ahead and go to the next slide. And you might be thinking, how does this pertain to polishing my application? So how does it help polish your application essentially, right? So there's a couple ways that you want to kind of think about it as similar to when you, or if you have, or I'm sure you've heard this before, but say you were to go to a job interview. You want to go into that job interview and know that you've looked into the company, right? You want to go in and know what the company does, know what their motto is, maybe know what their values are. So you want to show them that you have done your research and that you know them as well. So a couple of ways you can show interest in a university is going to be, one is going to be campus tours, and that's either in person or virtual. This is a great place for you to meet campus representatives, not just admission counselors. You can ask them questions. You can know what their different offices do on campus. And also campus tours just in general are going to allow you to be confident in the decision that you're making about what college you want to go to. Then you can get to know your admissions counselor. So that's what we are here for. So we are happy to help you. We are also enjoy getting to know you. I always get super excited when I, talk to a student who emails me and say, hey, I'm applying to Texas Tech. It's July. And then I see them, we talk pretty much and email back and forth pretty much until the student's accepted, right? And those conversations grow, and then it turns into, I'm just excited for them about being admitted as they are, because I now know this student and I'm so excited for them to be a Red Raider, because I've gotten the opportunity to get to know them. So don't be afraid to kind of, get to know your admissions counselors, or to kind of just keep a conversation going, even if it's just a, hey, I just want to check in. Is there anything that I need to be doing, or things like that. So that's a great way to kind of show interest. Go into a college fair. Again, if you can't get up to campus, it's a great way to kind of meet campus reps and get to know and taking time to understand more about the college. And then know information about the colleges. So get to know, like, what are the majors the university offers? Maybe what are some of the resources? This would be a kind of a good thing that you could also maybe include in your essay. You don't have to talk about what you want your major to be in an essay, or, things like this, but this is an easy way for you to kind of show, hey, I've done my research about this university. So an example is, say you want to be an engineer, right? And you're applying to Texas Tech and you say, somewhere in your essay, I know Texas Tech has 10 different engineering programs. I'm interested in becoming an engineer. That allows me to know, hey, this person looked up Texas Tech. They know about our engineering program. Or you might hear that SHSU has a great money management office. And that would be a great tool for you to utilize to say, hey, I heard, like, I'm excited to utilize SHSU's student money management office. This is going to be a great tool for me to utilize to help me fund my education, right? This is just showing that you did your research and you kind of know what you're talking about, going back to kind of everything we've talked about. You have a plan and you're kind of just reflecting on that and putting it all into a timeline. I am going to do one last poll, and this will kind of end our polls for the night, but the poll really just says, how do you plan to show interest? So what do you, and you should be able to pick multiple choices. So if you want to do all of these things, that's awesome. If you're only going to do one, that's cool too. But how do you want to show interest in the university? Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. It looks like y'all liked my tip on looking up key information about a college, but yeah, showing interest in all those other areas is super beneficial. One, for not only polishing your application, but also just getting to know a college and being comfortable in the decision that you're going to make. So all of them are great opportunities for you to do that. All right, Ericka, if you want to move on forward, we're almost done, y'all. So quickly on how do you polish yourself and your application after you've already hit submit, right? So we've gone over proofread and, you know, make sure you take your time to answer the questions and making sure to fully fill out the questions. But now you've hit submit, you can't go back and change any of that information. So what is it that you can do? So one is being punctual, right? So submit that application and then submit the documents that are required with it as well, right? Whatever that university is requiring, go ahead and just get those sent in, right? You don't want to be someone that, you know, they're trying to chase down because, you know, we're missing the document. So be punctual and just, you know, be responsible and on kind of on top of those things and submitting those documents. Another one is be patient and polite. So just know, I don't think there's any university in the US that you can send a document today and have it be processed and on your account by tomorrow, right? So just kind of be patient with your admissions counselors or your universities. Typically there's a processing time for things. So when you send in your high school transcript, give it some time before, you know, you're calling them up and saying, hey, I sent it in, when's it gonna be there? They're gonna get it on there, right? Obviously, if you've sent a document and now it's been 3-4 months, yeah, you're probably gonna wanna follow up, but just be patient. Following up that next day after you submit your ACT or SAT test scores, they're not gonna be on there yet. And then just be polite too. So we know that there may be some frustrations in the process if you're waiting too long or you're getting anxious about it. But just know that us as admissions counselors are doing everything that we can, as well as every university has a process. So I may not be always able to fix it, but the cool thing is I'm always going to try, right? So just being polite, and that's, you know, when you're emailing or you're phone calling someone, you know, just being polite, and then just stay in contact like we talked about. Go ahead and send me that email. Hey, I'm just double checking. Is there anything else I need? Hey, I'm double checking. Is there anything else I need? Or even if you get an acceptance letter, so and you email me and say, oh my gosh, Molly, I've been accepted to Texas Tech. I'm so excited, right? You may not have a question. You may not have anything, you know, you need from me at that moment, but just kind of staying connected is really nice.
Can I add one more tip?
Yeah.
Just thought of right now.
No.
when you do email us and ask us a question, which we are more than happy to answer always, sometimes it's very helpful when if you send in your student ID that we have provided to you when you applied, and that way we can look you up in the system and it's super quick and easy. And if you can't remember your student ID or you don't know where it is, adding your date of birth will always help as well, just so that we can look you up in the process and we can answer your question quickly.
All right, y'all, but that is kind of everything that we have for you. So someone just asked, yes, so our contact, so if Erica, if you just want to go to the next one where our contact information is. At this time too, we have about 5 minutes-ish. So if you have any questions for me or Erica that have not already been answered through our lovely moderators, thank you all, our moderators, for helping out. And we have another colleague who's helping us with our technology. Thank you all so much for being here. It's super helpful. But yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in there. So there's one that says, how will we know you received the SAT scores and what is required to apply for the university? Great question, yeah. So how do you know we received the SAT score? So a lot of universities will have some sort of portal that you can go on and check your application status, right? So at Texas Tech, we have a portal that after you create your application, you can create your Rater Connect account. This will be an area where you can continue to log in and check your application status, right? Once we receive your test scores, you'll get a little green check mark next to that area on your portal, right? And like I said, if it's becoming a very extended time, so now it's been months that since you sent them in and your portal isn't showing that it's been received, go ahead and give your admissions counselor a call. But typically every university will have a portal, as well as every university, if you check their websites, will typically have what admissions documents are needed to complete your file. Oh, another question is, how much time do you spend on one essay? Do you go back and forth through the application essay? I mean, you can do it whatever is most comfortable for you, right? What I would recommend is you can, when you create an application, on pretty much on any application site, you can stop it. You can like stop and save and come back to it. So you can, if you get to the essay part and you need a day or 2 or 3 to write your essay, then yeah, just hit stop and save and then go back to your application. So I definitely do not recommend opening up an application and getting to the essay question, which is typing in the essay and then hitting submit. I definitely recommend either kind of prepare what you want, look up what the essay questions are, either through that university website or like I shared the Apply Texas ones. But yeah, I definitely don't recommend just like trying to sit down right when you open up the application, and you can definitely stop and save your application and come back to it. Because just know once you hit submit, you cannot go back and make changes.
We had a question about test scores. Should we, if we have a good standing GPA, should we submit the SAT and ACT score if it does meet the requirements? So you totally can. It is up to you. That's why I said that it's so important to look up the requirements for each college. Each college is going to have something different. Texas State is going to have something different than Sam Houston State University. So if when you look it up, if it is a good match, even if you have a high enough GPA, it always does help, because when we are assessing applications, if we see that you have a good test score, it can only help you. And so especially if it meets our requirements, yes. And even if you meet that automatic admissions, if you want to send it, yes, you can totally send it.
All right, y'all, looks like we only have about 1 minute left. Tyler, if you can go ahead and stop recording now.